Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's time to take the global stories that have made it to the front pages of our national dailies. And joining us this morning, we have two guests. We have Jide Johnson, he's a public affairs analyst, and Shola Omalayo, who's also a public affairs analyst. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Rume. Good morning to Mr. Shola. Good morning to our listeners all over the world and viewers all over the world. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Shola.
Good morning to every one of us.
Good morning.
And good morning to Nigerians. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. All right, so let's dig right in because we have some really juicy stories here. So on the Punch, it leads with knocks as IBB, that's Ibrahim Babangida, regrets annulling MKO Abiola's victory in 1993. And the writer here says, Afenifere, others said, Babangida's comment belated. In fact, that was something I also said, which is a little too late. On the Nigerian Tribune, it says, MKO won June 12 election, Abacha annulled it, IBB says. The writer here says, without Babangida, I wouldn't have joined politics. That is according to our current president, Tinubu. And another writer here says, Dangote, Rabiu, Danjuma, author Eze, others donate over 16 billion naira for IBB's presidential library. Okay, so June 12 election is something that obviously made history in Nigeria. In fact, it's known as one of, or the most credible election that we've ever had, the most free and fair election that we've ever seen in Nigeria. And of course, it was being annulled by Ibrahim Babangida at the time. But seeing what our own, political landscape has become now in 2020. Let's look at the last one, the 2023 elections. I'm sure that June 12, 1993 election probably would have made a precedent for us to say that, yes, we want to be able to have credible elections in Nigeria. But what's your take on the fact that, Ibrahim Babangida in his memoir, A Journey in Service, has said that, he annulled the election and it's one of his, he deeply regrets it, is one of his most regrets in life. I'd like to start from you, Shola Omalayo.
I think it's a good thing we are hearing this, but it's not a news to a lot of people who follows what happened in 1992, 1993. Nigerians talk about 1993 so many times without talking about 1992, the event that led to the emergence of MKO Abiola joining politics.
Hello, sir. Okay, I think we're having issues with Shola Omalayo's audio. Mr. Jide Johnson, would you like to take over?
Well, it's just that it's unfortunate that we find ourselves in this direction.
For me, I see the election. Babangida saying the kind of operation that is order.
Hello, Mr. Shola. Okay, Mr. Jide, please go ahead.
Well, first and foremost, Babangida is not a president. Why do you want to whitewash history? He was a military dictator that had an interregnum in our political landscape. Why are we according him the respect of a president? So it's an insult to the sensitivity of every Democrat. He is not. He was an head of state, a military head of state for that matter. Those that are entitled to presidential library are those that are elected by the people. And so we shouldn't be whitewashing history. Babangida is trying, I'm sure he's gone through a period of repentance and is trying to go to find peace with his maker before he goes to the grave. So, but we shouldn't join in whitewashing history. He did something which constitutionally is not right and which should not be rewarded with this type of celebration people are having. And it's also unfortunate, I've said it many times, that may your enemy not injure you and find repentance in the eyes of God after he has injured you or probably murdered you, and then God will forgive him for all of his sins. I don't know how Abiola will be feeling in his grave with those that were with him today now celebrating with IBB. Years after his death, years after IBB are not the election. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't think that should be celebrated the way it is celebrated, and I don't think that should be recorded in the annals of this history of this nation. That Babangida was a president, was a military head of state, he was not really elected. Those that are entitled to presidential library are those that came into power through, not through the barrel of the gun, but through democratic means.
Thank you so much for that. We're not just going to dwell on this a bit too much. Let's look at another story on the Punch. It says 13.7 trillion naira federation account revenue withheld by the NNPCL. That's according to a FAC report. And if we look at the Business NG, it says states boycott FAC meeting over 1.7 trillion naira NNPC remittances. What's your take on this? Because these are a lot of numbers that are flying around. 13.7 trillion federation account revenue withheld by the NNPCL. Your take, please.
You know, we've spoken about the NNPC over and over again, that NNPC is a super institution, bigger than every other institution in the state. And then there's no measure of accountability and transparency with respect to revenue generation and remittances by the NNPC into the national treasury. So nobody knows what goes on in NNPC. Nobody has a clear understanding. And I think we need our own kind of government efficiency. Just imagine if we have somebody like Elon Musk looking into the finances of this country. I'm sure we'll make the same discovery they are making in the United States of America, even though they have some guardrails to prevent abuse, to prevent corruption, to prevent misuse of funds. But you could see what is really happening. And for me, there's a need for us to have a third party to look into how we need to rationalize this government. And what will have been of importance to us is the Olusola report. Olusola report, this present administration said is going to implement the Olusola report in order to minimize wastages of public fund and misuse of public fund and public fund not being accounted for. Everything is just lip service, and we need that type of approach that is happening presently with Doge in the United States of America for us to really know what is even going on in NNPC. Nobody knows the actual number of barrels of oil that we produce in a day. Nobody knows the actual amount of money that NNPC generates from the production of crude oil in Nigeria. So it's unfortunate. So you will always be having this problem, and we speak over it, and after a while we gloss over it. The governors will go to Abuja, they will pacify them. Hypothetically, they're entitled to 1 trillion, they give them 500 million, they go back. And since they themselves are not even accountable in their respective states, they just go back, they are satisfied, and we continue as business as usual. We have nothing to show for all the revenue that we have generated since we discovered oil in this country.
Yes, and I know you spoke about, making sure that our monies are being allocated or accounted for. And there's a story here on the Punch that says presidential panel gobs 21 billion naira in 7 years. So presidential panel, 21 billion naira. In fact, sometimes I just wonder how they call this money and how they allocate it, because you're wondering, the common man gets 70,000 naira minimum wage, and we're talking about a presidential panel.
Are they even getting it? Are they even getting it? Are they even getting
That's another
it?
question.
Have they gotten it?
Yeah.
And so it's just what we read on the page of newspaper and what their aides come to tell us. But the reality on the ground is that, are they getting the 70,000 we are talking about? How many states are even paying the 70,000? We look, someone said, I think it's David Noonan in his book, Aesop and the CEO, that said that if you want to waste people's time, call for a meeting. If you want to waste people's time, call for a meeting. If you don't want to get things done, set up a committee. Now, I ask you, what has been the end product of all this panel that has expended 21-point-something billion naira in the last 7 years? There's nothing, absolutely nothing to show for it.
Interesting. One day things will get better. That's how they say it now. One day things go better. All right, if we look at the Nigerian Tribune, it's also on the Punch as well. Well, let's take the one on Nigerian Tribune. It says CBN retains 27.5 0% interest rate maintains monetary policy parameters. On the Punch, it says economists want CBN as MPC retains 27.5 interest rates. I know that I'm not an economist, but most times they tell you that the interest rate should be, something a little bit more affordable, because if, for instance, I'm to do a business and I get a loan and you're telling me that the interest rate is 27.5%, how much is my profit? So in a way, it would not make people want to take that. But I want to get your own thoughts on this. The fact that CBN is retaining this, 27.5% interest rate and maintaining the monetary policy parameters.
It is basic. It is basic, not even macro. It is not even micro. It is basic macroeconomics. Now, interest rate should not be more than single digit.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be more than single digit. Now, you have something close to about 30%. And you also look at the inflationary rate in the country, about 30%. And forget what the MBS released, 24 point something during the course of this week. The reality on the ground is that the inflationary rate is more than 30. It's more than 30%. All you just need to do is just for you to go and service your car and compare what you used to service your car with what you are using to service your car now. Yeah. So it's very clear. Even God's interest rate is 10%. Which is tied according to the Christian, the Christian narrative. How much more government now? CBN putting his own interest rate at 27 point something. It will not work. Once you have this type of policy, it will not grow the economy. Let's say hypothetically, I collected 100 million to do business. What's going to be my return on investment? That means that for me to stay afloat in that business, and for me I must use 27.5 million. My business must be able to generate 27.5 million interest beyond the 100 million, which is the capital base of the business. So I have 27 point. It doesn't work. The math does not work. But you know the interesting thing, these people that operate this economy, they've never operated any kind of businesses before in their life. They've not been in the manufacturing sector. They've just been bureaucrats or people that have worked in the banks, and they've just been seeing money floating. They think that it is a floating of naira or is it trading of currency that will bring about the turnaround in the economy. It is the manufacturing sector that grows your economy. And that sector must be provided with credit. Not you come up with regulatory strings that strings them to death. It's simple as ABC. I just gave you a symbol. So if I'm collecting 1 billion, that means I'm paying, my business must be able to generate 275 million as part beyond the capital that I took. Million. So I'm repaying 1,275,000,000
before I even have profit.
Before I even talk about my own profit, it will not work. It's very simple.
So isn't that going to lead to hyperinflation? So on the business end,
that's what is happening. And you know the next thing they talk about the roads they construct, they talk about the infrastructure, they talk about schools they establish. They don't talk about companies, manufacturing companies that have been cited, industries that have developed, that have emerged since they come to power. All they tell us that we have constructed this road, we have constructed, which I call the ABC of public governance. Any idiot can construct to any idiot. All you just need is the plan for the road, the design for the road, and to allocate money to that road, which is the ABC of public governance. The XYZ of public governance is ensuring that your manufacturing sector is growing, your GDP is growing, and how do you allow your GDP then your per capita income of your citizenry is increasing, the cost of living is dropping, and then the standard of living is improving, not using basic infrastructure as the index of measuring public performance of people that we have elected into office to give us a turnaround in our fortune.
Like you said, I think the interest rate definitely should be at least a single digit, because what we need to do is even ensure that more businesses are springing up, more industries are springing up. We're even giving them the ease of doing business. That way, they can have employment forget whatever they say on the paper that, you know, unemployment rate has reduced significantly, but we still know that out there in the streets, there's so many people without jobs. And if we're saying that we want Nigeria to be a thriving nation, then we need to be able to encourage people to start up businesses. And I don't think this 27.5% interest rate would work. But let's look at this final story on the Business NG. It says CBN floods bank with dollar liquidity, strengthening Naira to 1,514 Naira per dollar. Is this something that we should be celebrating? I know that at some point the Naira was, in fact, pre-2020, the Naira was about 300 and something. This is just 5 years and was celebrating 1,500, which is over, say what now, 500%? But I want to get your thoughts on this one.
Does it call for celebration? Or does it call for sober reflection? That those that we have charged with the responsibility of taking care of our economy don't even know what to do with the economy. Don't even know either. Look, you must strike a balance between your fiscal policy and your monetary policy. The situation whereby you are borrowing money to fund a lifestyle you cannot afford definitely will affect the value of your currency. The situation whereby money that should go into the federation account is being retained by the NNPC, and there's no accountability. There's no accountability to that effect with respect to the revenue you are generating from the streets of crude oil in order to provide stability for your own local currency. You'll be in this type of a problem we are in. So it's easier for them to say that, well, Naira to a dollar is 1,500 Naira, and they celebrate it. While I was young, in my lifetime, I've seen that it was 80 kobo to $1. In my lifetime, I've seen dollar under Abacha, even the military administration, for throughout his tenure, it was 22 Naira to a dollar. 22 Naira to a dollar. It did not fluctuate. It was not as volatile as it is now. It is now, when we have a democratically elected government, that we thought that it will work in the interest of the people, that we have seen the volatility of Naira. It does not even make any sense. Who want to invest in your country when your currency is not stable? Who want to invest in a turbulent water where your currency is as volatile as the sea waves? So it's let them celebrate, but are Nigerians celebrating? No, they are not celebrating. Nigerians are groaning. Nigerians are crying. Nigerians are going through a lot, and we hope this administration and the respective state government, because not limited to the federal government, the state government and the local government are all involved in it, will do something to ameliorate the pains of Nigeria, not for them to gather in Abuja and celebrate people that have contributed to the demise and the problems of this country. It's insulting our sensitivity. It's telling us that we don't really matter.
All right, thank you so much. I think that was such a great charge, and this is a great way to just land it. We hope that, you know, whatever they're doing things in the best interests of Nigerians, because like you said, we're suffering, we're in pains, and these are not growing pains. These are not things that you're like, oh, there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel, and before you know it, we're better. No, this has been since 2023. In fact, pre-2023, the previous administration, right? And we've just been going through this, and we don't even know when things will get better. But hopefully the people that we have there at the helm of affairs start to look for ways to just ease the pains of Nigerians right now. Jide, we want to say thank you so much for coming. It's always a pleasure having you. Thank you for your time this morning.
It's a pleasure sharing the Friday with you. Thank you for having me.
And
have a wonderful weekend.
You too,
and your Grove Street is looking great.
At this point, I'm tempted to fake it. Thank you so much. All right, that was Jide Johnson, is a public affairs analyst, and we've just been taking global stories that made it to the front pages of our national dailies. We'll go on a short break now. When we return, we'll be discussing the fact that APC has withdrawn from the Osun State polls. Please stay with us.